Welcome to the next episode of the CAPB Podcast. On today's episode, we have the co-founder of Contact Coffee, Luke Dalton. Welcome, Luke.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Welcome, mate.
Mate, it's ace to have you on. When we first came up with the podcast and we started talking about veteran-owned businesses, yours was up there as like one of the OGs, one of the people we would love to have on. You know, held in the same esteem as your Through Darks and that kind of like, because you've been going a long time and it's a recognizable brand and lots of people are following in the footsteps of Contact Coffee.
Yeah, sorry, mate. It was a good start then. You sort of froze straight away. So I'm gonna guess what you said.
We'll get through it. Okay, so if that needs to, basically, you're one of the originals veteran-owned businesses who are doing well. Yeah. So and you stood the test of time. Been going like nearly 9 years. So we can't wait to listen to your story and share it with everyone else.
Yeah, now we've got a lot to share. Got a lot to talk about. Good things, bad things, winging it as we were speaking about just before we started going live. But yeah, hopefully I can bring some knowledge of wealth or some tidbits.
We'll welcome both, mate.
Yeah,
I've got plenty of both. So
but you are a 10-year plus Royal Marine veteran?
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
So obviously, the opening question we do on the podcast is, can you give us a highlight of your military career?
Yes, I'm just trying to be a bit careful about this, but spent 4 years in the regular corps, and then did specialist communications course, probably the most PC way I can say it. Spent 6 years down in Poole doing that role. So yeah, that experience from going from Green Army, not really a lot that saying, but sort of the Green Army going into the group was massive transition, massive eye opener. Essentially where the majority of people want to be. And it basically turned into a bit of a civvy job in a way, especially with the jobs that I was doing. And I was lucky enough to get some really, really good tours, some really interesting units, doing some really interesting stuff. So can't really give you too much into that, but yeah, towards the tail end of Afghan and stuff. So did some really interesting stuff there. So yeah, that was probably the highlight of my career. One of the reasons why I sort of left was because that sort of stuff started to dwindle out slightly, which was sort of the same reality for everyone else, really, whether that's Green Army or the group. And I mean, times change, jobs change, things change. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I punched out. But yeah, sort of the early start of my career down in Poole was a really, really good time for me. Yeah, one that I look back on all the time. Definitely the best.
It's the deployments are always stuff that people bring up as being the highlights, even though they're, definitely at the time the most challenging part. Yeah. You know what I mean? You kind of filter out everything else and just focus on those points. That. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I think Breedleg's quite bad for it. We obviously grip a lot, and I mean, using myself as an example, 10 years, fucking 9 years of that, I was probably moaning, fucking kicking stones around, going, fucking this is shit. But then as soon as you leave and all see the lads, you only talk about that like 10%. The majority of the time, like your experience in the military and stuff, it is shit. Like you're doing a lot of waiting around, you're fucking sat in the fucking range, you're doing some dog shit gigs that you don't really want to do or stuff like that. And then especially with how sort of rare ops were, within that 10-year period, probably joins. So like my first tour was Herrick 17, but essentially not the tail end of the juicy stuff. But there are few and far between sort of option stuff. So yeah, looking back now, it's sort of, again, careful what you wish for and stuff. But yeah, the get on ops was lucky at that time. Again, was one of the reasons why I went down the route that I did. But yeah, that's always going to be the positive, I think. And that's why everyone joins, realistically. No one really joins to play toy soldiers in a woodblock in Brecon, do they? So
yeah.
We always ask people, like, if you had the opportunity to go on tour tomorrow, they'd be like, 100%, I've got my backpack. I ain't doing any of that camp. I ain't doing any of that shit in camp. Nah, fuck that. I'll go.
I'm good to go, mate. I'm good to go.
Honestly. And it's...
I'll ring the lads up loud. Let's go.
Cool, let's go. And when you explain that to someone that hasn't served in the military, they can't understand it. And it's like, well, it's because all that shit that we've done in camp, all that training, has led up to this. point,
Yeah.
and that's what we enjoy, and that's what we do. We go out and do operations, whether what we do.
And I mean, I do feel sorry for the lads that have. I mean, I know quite a few, and I know some really good fucking bootnecks that have done as long as me, maybe longer, and they never went on tour. And obviously, from someone outside thinking they're like, oh fucking hell, why did you never get away? Obviously, they're scratching at the fucking bit to try and get away.
Yeah.
So it's when I try and explain that to sort of civvies and that, it might sound a bit chad, but I'll try and say like, imagine being like a Premiership football, training at fucking Man U, being there for 5, 6, 7 years, and never getting a fucking game. Like, you know what I mean? You look back on your career and you feel a bit like fucking hell, but like the majority of people that wouldn't be able to get into that position in the first place, wouldn't be able to stand there in that rig or get through that fucking 32 weeks training, whatever. But you always want to aspire to be the top and doing what you're trying to do, aren't you? So it's a tough one. It's
a really good analogy that never getting on the pitch type thing, because it was like I joined in '98, and when nice mug, I joined in April '98, and so I went through training, and then straight away I deployed to Kosovo, because Kosovo had started. So I had my 18th birthday in Kosovo. Then you had like Iraq started, then Afghanistan. So throughout my career it was just deployments. It was like a thing. But I remember being on that tour in Kosovo as a sort of 17, 18-year-old, and there being people who'd been in the army 7, 8 years who had never deployed.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is it. Finally, they're training so hard. And that was just, I'd say that was early on. It's madness. And the tours are definitely a highlight. Just out of just as a matter of interest, I was on Herrick 17 as well. I was I was medcore, as I say, on that tour. I was in the hospital working in the emergency department.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to walk around that hospital. It's a bit weird.
We used to have guys who come on placements, mate. So there was lads from the group who'd come on, do placements, and stay with us for a little while and do some stuff. So, So that's your military career. And let's talk about business then, because that's what the podcast is about: is veterans going into business. And if you could tell us, what is Contact Coffee and where did the idea come from behind it?
So essentially, Contact Coffee is sort of no nonsense coffee. Still enjoy good coffee, but without all the bullshit behind it. So basically, trying to convince people just because you're in the jungle, just because you're in the Arctic, just because you're in the desert, just because you're on operations, you don't need to set off the shit instant coffee. You can still have good coffee, but without going full Starbucks, wanker, all the bells and whistles. That's essentially why we started it. And then alongside that as well is sort of what coffee brings to sort of those environments when you're with the lads. So this sort of started looking back, sort of like on Herrick when you're in the PBs and stuff, like, and after patrol or on an evening, you'd sit down and have a coffee and get your tabs out, roll them up and sit down and have a chat. And you were doing it without knowing you were doing it. So everyone's naturally opening up or naturally having a drip or naturally having that time to go, mate, you were fucking shit today, or do you know what I mean? So I think what comes along with that moment and the process of making coffee, everyone does without actually knowing it. And one of the reasons why we started was essentially when I was in Afghan, at one location, I saw an American brand that's quite popular. I don't know the name, I'm not going to say it. But I saw one of their mugs on the side. We were working for some Americans. I thought, that's pretty fucking cool. Did a bit of research, looked into it. I thought, I'm going to get some of that. And I actually went through the process of trying to buy it. Obviously, I couldn't get it in the UK. Went to the US store. By the time I got it in my basket and was about to buy it, I was paying fucking 40, 50 quid for a bag of coffee. And I was like, that's shit. There's got to be a UK version of it. And there wasn't. So, a bit of a light bulb moment, bit of a gap in the market. And then sort of, if we didn't do it, someone else would have. So, I know you say with the OGs and stuff, but I think there would have been something if it wasn't for us. Someone would have came in and done it, but yeah, we were just the first ones there, really. So yeah, that's basically why and how it started.
And was it? Did it start as like a side hustle? Was it a plan to do something as a bit of a, in the block type thing? Well, let's have a go at blending shit up.
Mate, fucking don't know. Just happened. Just happened. So when I actually saw that, so again, I was done the tour after about 6-7 months, and then came back and a bit after that. But the jobs that I'd just done and the jobs at the time, that they were quite specific. So only certain lads had enough balls. So it's because of the job so niche in certain things, you got to have so much PDT and balls, and you know what it's like, just ticking the boxes, and I was top as ticks in boxes. So I basically went back out after 2 months and did R&R cover for where I'd just left and another location as well. So that by the time I'd done that about and handovers, that was another 2 months. So within like a 12-month period, I've been away for 9 months plus. So obviously that started when I got back. They were just like, right, you need to fucking chill out, you got to leave. Me off into like a bit of a hold and shoot for a bit, where you just sort of take all your leave and just sort of drag your feet a little bit, do a bit of courses, the sort of stuff. And that's where I just had time on my hands basically. And then this idea had sort of been in the back of my head, a little bit entrepreneurial anyway, I think. And then got chatting to business partner now, and we've come up with the idea. And I've done a bit of research, but yeah, essentially just started an Instagram page. I don't even think we had a logo, mate. I think I went to a t-shirt company. I said I want some t-shirts. I was like, yeah, have you got a logo? I was like, well, nah, can you help me with that? Just like Johnny H5 bit on the back of a bag pocket, and he's like, all right, so I'll make your logo for you. And it just started there. So I think we had a t-shirt before we even had some coffee. So yeah, so we just made just backwards, most shittest way to start a business. We did it that way. But yeah, it just happened there, and then we just started putting things on Instagram. People just started sort of asking us, oh, can I have some like coffee and stuff? But yeah, like you said, we were sort of the OGs, and there was nothing really to copy. Like I said, there was the American company that were sort of the inspiration that, you know, the Americans like, and they have access to a lot more than us, and their sort of culture around the military and guns and all that sort of stuff is a lot different to over here. So we were basically just starting something and trying to create content that didn't exist. But yeah, I think we just sort of stood out. Like I said, we were right time at the right place, wrong right place, right time.
I think it's fascinating, mate, because your branding's on point, you know. And I think people like that edginess. They like the alley part of it, you know. And it's not just in the military community, but it's a strong. And if people can get behind a brand and relate to it, and like coffee's huge, man. Like Paul and I drink a lot of coffee. There was a time when Paul and I both were in Iraq at the same time on separate tours. So I was leaving after 6 months. Paul was coming in to start 6 months, and we were in Basra, in like Shaiba. There was a number of little cafes and stuff, and it was still a relatively kinetic time in Iraq where we were getting mortared on camp and with other things happening. But we would meet up in the like 4-week period where we were both there, and we'd go for coffee. You know, and we'd be chatting in coffee. And one time we were there just having a coffee, and then mortar attack happens. Alarm goes off. We hit the deck, and we're underneath this table, mate, in Iraq, while the camp's getting mortared, drinking coffee. And it's just like we're still like sipping coffee, helmets and that on, mate. Just thinking, oh, wouldn't Mum be proud? But it was like, yeah, and it was shit coffee. But it's mad. And then like I'm not going to say I'm a coffee snob, because I'm not. I'm from North Wales, mate. But I did a deployment to Yemen, and I was in Yemen for 8 months. And on that deployment, I drank a lot of coffee, and I got one of those espresso things that you put on the hob. And it was the best thing I ever had. Yeah, I loved it. Really good, right? I had good access to coffee. It was literally like fascinating. And having that really good coffee turned me, I can't drink instant coffee, mate. I just can't drink it now, mate, because it was like that kind of quality for so long. And you come back and you're like, all of a sudden I'm like a snob with coffee. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's a madness. It does bring people together.
Yeah, definitely. And because that's where our coffee bags sort of became a thing, which again was a mistake as well. So we ordered them when we were pissed up, basically. I went down to business partner's house, and we'd had a few samples of something, and he was like, oh, we've seen these bags, they're pretty good. And essentially, coffee brew bag, same concept as the tea bag, but it's got ground coffee in it. Mega simple, but mega obvious. But whenever you first discover them or show someone, they're like, fucking hell, why have I never thought about that? But yeah, essentially, we asked for the samples and stuff, we tried them, we like sound, bought nothing of it. There was a lad who was doing our fulfillment at the time. And we were still quite small then, so orders were sort of like a few boxes here and there and stuff. He rung us, he's like, mate, just had a pallet turn up. Like, we'd never had a pallet worth of stock turn up. Pallet, sends a photo, mate. He had a shop at the time, and it was just down this little street, and there's just a fucking pallet just been dumped from the like banging into the path. What the fuck's that? Wrong me, but mate. Why have we got a pallet of stuff? Like, why have we ordered that much coffee? Turns out I went back for the emails and stuff, rung our supplier and was like, mate, what's this that you sent? And we'd ordered like 10,000 for these fucking bags. Like, this stuff, and like, fucking, like, we had nothing, like, no marketing behind it, like no, nothing, products not on the internet or anything like that. And we was just like, fuck's sake. And it was a bit of an accident because we thought they were good. And then now it's our top seller. Like, we can't get them in quick enough. We're ordering sort of like 12,000 the boxes of 10 at a time. Spoke to our ops manager today, and we're going to have to put another order in already this year. And they just fly out. Because they're so convenient, and they're basically, like you said, is you're in those sort of situations, you're drinking shit coffee. Yeah, it's not the ideal place. You're not always going to have the ability to sit down on a nice hob and make a mocha pot and get your espresso, but you're going to have time just to fucking rip a bag open, get you some hot water.
And it's quality, mate. And we've seen you do some collaborations with some of the brands we've had on the podcast, actually. Yeah. And having that, having their labels and them linking to your brand with the Contact Coffees as like a giveaway and that kind of thing that they add is a really nice touch. And it brings me on to the Give a Shit Coffee sort of campaign.
Yes.
Which I think is, mate, it is genius, mate. And just that, to give someone something to say, actually, I'm just thinking about you, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's a fantastic... Where did the idea
come
from that, mate?
Really, like, the hair was just on the back of my neck when you say that. Yeah, it's just... I don't know, it wasn't a sit-down, big planning meeting, should we do something? You're thinking about trying to do something like that, especially with January and stuff. And yeah, we're trying to look at, okay, how can we create something, can we create a product where you can sort of like pay it forward, sort of that concept, or buy products and get it sent to someone else. But from like a technical point of view, the website and products, it becomes quite messy, and how we run as well. We run really, really light, and a lot of stuff's automated. But it just wasn't really working. It's like, people going to pay that much money, you know what I mean? But so I thought about giving the free stuff, and then we had just sort of bit of an hour to myself, just having a little think about it, and then just came up with this campaign, really. But yeah, like you said, I think it's just that little token gesture. I mean, I know it's quite a big thing that's spoken about now, which is good. And I think one of the things that a lot of people are advocates for, just sort of reaching out to someone or getting into the habit of like every Friday, just scrolling through your phone book, stopping on a random person, just saying, how's it going, mate? That sort of thing. I think it's the little gestures that go away. You don't need to shower them with gifts and fucking take them on holiday for a week, but yeah, just a bit of tap on the shoulder or post a coffee for the letterbox. It's a nice little lift. So yeah, so it goes back to why we started, the opening up over coffee. So you can just give that bloke or that woman that coffee, or they might go, yeah, let's drink it, let's sit down and have a little chat and stuff. And yeah, it's amazing. You ask someone how they are, what do you want to talk about, and they'll say nothing. Instead of hot, wet touches your lips, it's like drinking 10 pints in it. You just seem to open the floodgates, and yeah, it's amazing what you get out of someone just from a coffee. And yeah, so it's just a bit of boost of morale, and obviously a bit of boost of the caffeine.
I think it really is. Like, I tell you what I like about it, really like about it, is the wording, mate. And it is on brand and stuff, but just Give a Shit Coffee is so much better than, oh, let's talk for men's mental health, or let's talk about this. It's all like, it's just as it is. Yeah. And that's what I like about it. It makes it really relatable. And I also I try my best, and blokes traditionally are not as good as women at it, is keeping in touch about your circle of friends. Yeah. But that idea of like scrolling through your phone on a Friday and saying, I'm just going to text and just let them know, just checking. And I love that, mate. I love that. And
yeah, I mean, you don't have to be all, again, you know, what we're like and stuff, and you don't need to go, oh, how are you feeling and stuff, but you text and say, oh, you can, but yeah, it starts something like that, and it doesn't need to be,
you text them, it's like, thumbs up emoji.
Yeah, like, yeah, cheers, nice one, yeah.
Which one is it? Yeah.
Well, mate, it
goes a long way.
It's class, mate. It really is. And I think the veteran community is it's really strong, and everyone's there to support each other. And I think that's one of the things that we love about the podcast, is talking to veterans who've gone into business. And when we talk to them, we say, there's a guy on, he's done some work with you, actually. We had Teague on from Combat Clipper Company, and he was, as part of his pack, might have one here, actually. I have definitely got one
Oh, there we go. Here we go.
There you go.
You know, and he sends it all out, and it's little things like that. And what was fast? I love what Teague's doing in the combat with the combat clip, and you love what he's doing. But one of the things what was brilliant with him, he was like, again, like most veterans who go into business, you're starting at zero with business knowledge. But what was cool was he told like how he'd seen another veteran with a veteran brand doing some stuff on social media and was like, "That's brilliant. How do I do that?" So we just reached out to him, and 5 minutes later, they're on a FaceTime call talking through some stuff. Two veterans, you know, both had served in different areas. One was RAF, he was, you know, Teague's still serving, should I say? But they were just talking about something, not competing, not trying to dim each other down. It was just like, yeah, of course, this is how I do, and I think that's a real powerful part of, you know, the veteran community.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, controversially as well, I think you've got to try and work stuff out for yourself as well. So over the years, we've had a lot of people reach out. So sometimes you're a bit like, look, you need to figure this out for yourself, because we've had people literally message us saying, like what you're doing, like who gives you t-shirts, where do you get your coffee from, who did your mug toys, and you're like,
who made your website?
Yeah, screw it up. Like, I mean, you got to play the game. I'm going to fucking do it for you. So it's one of them. More than happy to sort of lend a hand and some advice and stuff, but there's other things. It's like you've got to learn that for yourself. You've got to put the legwork in. You've got to build those relationships, and again, I think that's why. Again, you mentioned just being the OGs and stuff, but I think one of the reasons why is just because longevity was still here. Like, loads of people come, but they're not here now. And again, I don't think you have to be the best brand, the best business. I think if you're just willing to get to the hard yard and you're still there at the end of it, you're going to be on top. I think
it's
it's consistency. When you get shit, you just carry on and just. I mean, with Bootneck just stubborn. When it was getting really shit and then she folded, we just, it's not going to happen. We just keep going through, keep fighting through, and we're still here. So I think it's longevity for a lot. Don't get me wrong, there's been one or two that have come and we think, fucking hell, that's a strong brand, that, because they've got something there, and then it just disappears, which is a shame. But you've got to keep it.
It's like the hard work behind it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It brings us nicely onto a question we like to ask, which is, over the nearly 10 years that you've been going as a business, what's the biggest lesson you've learned?
You know, I could literally chat shit for about an hour for this. Well, there's loads of little things. I mean, like, obviously we started with no business knowledge or acumen whatsoever. But I think the stuff like you've got to learn naturally. I mean, if I start today, I'd do things totally different, think differently, but you're not going to be able to be in that position really. But if I'm honest, I think we're too trustworthy, especially when you get out of the military. You naturally trust the lads next to you. Like Spanish Chad's talk about your life, do you know what I mean? You trust it, and I've noticed it as well. I think it's a Bootneck thing, but Bootneck's even more trustworthy. So if ever we're doing some work and we get to speak to a company or something, and it's like a Bootneck, it's just like, everything will be signed. It'll get sorted, whatever. Like, there's loads of trust there. But when it comes to civvies, it's just not there. Everyone's out there for themselves. Even when you think you're onto a winner, we've had relationships that last like 5-6 years, and then something will just go wrong, and they're nowhere to be seen and stuff like that. So, I think you've got to be selfish as a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. You're going to get asked a lot. You're going to get people asking for things all the time, asking for money, asking for help. You've just got to keep at it yourself. You've got to be selfish. Think about the business as well. Unless you're running a charity, but people will just automatically think you're a charity and expect things because you're ex-military and all this sort of stuff, and expect things on a plate. I think probably could be more of a cunt, to be fair. We're too nice. We still are. Do you know what I mean? It's like we still are too nice, and when it comes down to pricing, and do you know what I mean, you've got to like have all that penny and stuff like that. But we're quite chilled out. We are really chilled out. We don't want it to be like that. But like I said, people check the pissing out there for themselves. So I think probably be a bit stricter, a bit more rigid, and a little bit more selfish. Obviously,
don't trust every smile and handshake.
Mate, never.
Yeah.
Oh mate, it is fascinating, and it's the same thing. We speak to a lot of the veterans and all different types of businesses, um, and they're the same thing. They were like, yeah, it was great. I knew everything about this, and then it was like I need to start worrying about accounts, and it was like I knew nothing about accounts. What? And then
Yeah,
it was like I knew
yeah,
nothing about advertising, so I had to learn about advertising, and then I knew nothing about social media, so I had to learn about social media.
yeah,
Where like for example, Contact Coffee is a great example of the social media, especially from your line of work, Royal Marines. We're not exactly like all over social media.
yeah,
It's not like a thing, and then all of a sudden you've got to weaponize it in a way and get the best use out of it for your brand.
yeah.
So it's like trying to learn that kind of stuff and what looks best, what lands best with your people. It's just
Yeah, and that space is moving fucking quick as well, because what used to work doesn't work now, and then you can be doing something right for about a week, 2 weeks, and then it'll just fall off the cliff. There's something else, and it got into like sort of TikTok area. The trends are lasting like 12 hours. Do you know what I mean? If you're posting something that's trending this morning and you're posting it in the evening, you fucking missed the boat, and you're on to something else. It's like it's fucking fast paced when it comes to the digital marketing side of things. But all the other stuff is just, that's sort of like that's called like your website, your SEO, your paid, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, when it comes to marketing side of things, it's quick. Probably something that we have been honest, probably dropped a little bit, just because of bandwidth and stuff. But yeah, it's a big beast, the digital marketing side.
I think what I've noticed over the duration of the podcast and speaking to veterans is all these challenges that you come up with when starting a business and when running a business, your skill sets that we learn in the military, how to deal with kinetic situations, things changing really quickly, or learning something brand new very, very quickly, and learning to become proficient in it. I think that really, I think what I'm gathering is that kind of helps, whether we subconsciously know about it or not. We go, fuck, I don't know about this. Oh, I'll go away and learn it. And whether another type of mindset may go, oh, fuck, I don't know this. Oh, this is it. This is it. The business is over.
Really?
But I found that from the military veteran community, they're going, ha! No. This is just another hill that I have to climb. This is just another contact that I have to get through. It's like, we know the mission. The end mission is to be a successful business. And the way we get through that is by doing all this. And you make an interesting point about social media and how it changes. Now, I'm of the age where, like, MySpace was brand new, like a thing back in the day, and it was like, and I'm still not all over social media, but I'm getting better at it. But it's like that. It is so fast paced. It's like you say, you'd be looking at one thing 1 minute, and it'd be like, oh my god, it's the best thing since whatever, and then the next minute it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
So having the ability to understand that and understand that market and how that works, obviously is great. So I just like to put that in there, that we do have a set of skill sets within veterans or just military personnel that lend itself very, very well to starting businesses.
Yeah, I think
you
it's
don't
been
subconsciously know that what you're doing.
No, I agree. I think it's been reactive as well. I mean, Robert, on the bus, off the bus, 1 minute you fucking going somewhere, you've got your bag packed, you step off the bus, you're like, no lads, we're going here. You're not fucking out.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, 2 hours later, you're doing something totally different, and you turned up in fucking cam whites to a fucking jungle exercise and fucking all sorts, and you just have to deal with it. Sort of like, and again, we just sort of, when stuff does get pretty bad, like, we just sort of looking at things like, you mentioned the accounts earlier, we've had seats, storing our accounts for the past 3 years, and it's not illegal, it was me mentally to a fucking place I've never been before, so it obviously takes over your life, but there was points during that where we just fucking, you just had to laugh, man. Cheerfulness in the face of the birthday, and just go, oh, sound, there's a lot of zeros on the end of that fucking number. It's just good. Just got to laugh about it, and then keep trying to sell that coffee for $4.99. All right,
mate. It is that level of resilience we have. I think is something, and that drive to make it work. Do you know what I mean? But not be too stubborn about it. Let's look at this innovatively, and I think, as I say, you've had to have the ability to pivot, because you started in 2016. Now, obviously, in that space between then and now, we've also had COVID. So we've also had these things which have been like world changing. Yet you're still here. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a testament to you and
Yeah.
you know and the team behind Contact Coffee.
I mean, weirdly, COVID is the thing that fucking sent us. We did very well out of COVID. Obviously, I put my shit in sort of during COVID, pre-COVID. Mrs. was pregnant at the time, so military's been the military absolutely flat. And they were just like, oh, if your missus is pregnant, just fucking stay away from the camp. So pretty much did my 9 months resettlement, just fucking sat at home. So I was literally full time in the business. Still didn't need to take a wage out of it because I was still getting paid by the military. And obviously, everyone sat at home and couldn't get anything. Started running some ads, and I look back at the numbers during COVID, and it's fucking ridiculous. Like we were flying, and that's what really pushed us. And that's what it was never the plan to sort of do it full time. And I literally put my shit in, and I was looking for jobs and didn't really know what to do. It was like Contact Coffee was just a thing, sort of side hustle. And then during COVID, it was like fucking hell, this is a good business. I think the sort of ended up doing it full time, and yeah, sort of when COVID finished. That's where things started shaking up for us on the bad side of things. So yeah, we've pretty much battled hard since COVID finished. COVID really put us in a good place, and yeah, we haven't recovered, so to speak, since COVID. Not that we're in a bad place now, but if we were to go back to COVID numbers, it'd be fucking really good. But yeah,
like ordering the yacht.
Yeah, mate, it was like overnight. The minute the lockdown finished, it just fell off. But during this time, we were in a good place. So then we started looking at locations. So we opened coffee pop-up, and then opened a second shop as well. So because obviously looking at numbers, looking at let's go, well, it's brilliant. And then as COVID finished, the website numbers started going that way. And obviously now you've got coffee shops, you've got 10, 12 members of staff, you've got yourself, you've got an office, you've still got a website to run in, and yeah, then you got the side of things, and then the accountant that isn't doing your fucking accounting, and yeah, it gets hard. But yeah, like I said, you get through that, laugh it off, and yeah, still it.
It's learning, isn't it? It's another one of the things we've had is as you're with success, like you said, it brings other challenges, like more staff, like scaling, like lots more considerations, like where do we invest money, time, effort.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think one of the things is that we hear from veterans whose businesses are doing well and they're scaling is that surround yourself with good people, man.
Yeah.
Be selective about who you bring in.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference. People you can trust and stuff. And
yeah, exactly. And I mentioned our ops manager earlier. He was the first person we brought in, our first employee. Obviously, from that, he helped us bring in all the other staff members, which are essentially working in the coffee shop. So obviously they've all gone, but he's still with us, and without him, we'd be screwed massively. He tells me what's happening most days. So,
yeah,
he's on it full time. I'm on it sort of semi part time at the minute, but yeah, he's running the day to day, running the shift and stuff, and we joke about it that like you can die with that. So don't die.
Whatever you do, don't die.
Yeah, literally, I was like, mate, have you got all this stuff documented? He's like, no. I was like, you need to start writing it down just in case. With you going on, but
mate, hopefully your ops manager doesn't die.
No, hopefully not.
What's next? What's next for Contact Coffee? What's the plan?
I mean, it's probably expecting me to say, yeah, massive growth. We want to be NXL numbers next year and stuff. But to be honest, like, the position it's in at the minute, it's doing well. Getting ourselves back on track after the whole accounting issue in the next year or so. We've got a really good accountant who's keeping on top of things now. Yeah, we just want to settle. Like I said, we've stripped it back quite a lot. We're literally running it very, very light. We've moved out the office with all our coffee equipment. We're sort of getting rid of that, and yeah, we're pretty much. It's a nice business. It runs clean. A lot of automation. We've got all our processes are pretty pussers, and yeah, it's in a good place at the minute. Just learning from my mistakes. Probably not try and push it too much. Just sort of stay grounded with it. So probably build up our community a bit more. Again, if I'm being honest, we did well in the early years. Sort of built that community, which I think is why we still do well today. We do well at retaining customers. I think our we've got 60% of our customers are returning customers, but we also attract new customers, which is really a high percentage. So probably tapping back into that, and for myself, stuff like this has been a bit more forward facing. We never really wanted the brand to be about us. I know it works for some brands. We're not like that anyway. We don't really want to be the main characters, but I think with how social media is going now, like we spoke about the digital marketing space, I think people want the rawness of businesses. I want to see the behind the scenes. I want to see co-founders, people that are working on it. So the nice shiny Instagram front there, it's all the same filter, all flows nicely. That's sort of going now. I think people want me just chatting shit about a bag of coffee, unedited, unfiltered. So yeah, looking into how things have changed and sort of adapting a little bit. But yeah, nothing mental, nothing crazy. Got a few nice little guest blends coming out this year. One hopefully in the next couple of weeks with another military spy coffee company. Might be a good one to have on this show actually. But yeah, I'll be able to talk about that a bit more in a couple of weeks. And yeah, just a few more collabs. But yeah, nothing too major.
Mate, we're coming towards the close of the podcast now, and I just want to say a few things, right? Is firstly, thank you for your total raw authenticity and honesty on here. It would have been really easy for you to come on and just say, yeah, this has been great and this is great. But the fact that you've, from one of the bigger brands out there and one of the ones that people a lot look up to say it's not all plain sailing, I think like that's reality.
Yeah.
And I love that, mate. And yeah, so we really appreciate that. Second thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but the name of the podcast is called the Coffee and Poo Bag Podcast. We haven't managed to find a poo bag company who are happy to stick the label on yet, but I think it's definitely worth a conversation. Yeah. I think it's definitely worth a conversation to look at where we can go in the future with some.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, we'll have a chat. That's cool. But
Luke, thank you.
I appreciate. I was just about to say sort of appreciate you having me on. We spoke about it a bit before, but I was just sort of wanted to ask, what are your aspirations for the podcast now? Because I know you spoke about you've had 20 guests on, I think you said. Just wanted to know, role reversal here, mate.
God.
Yeah,
that's how this works.
I'll take my aspect. I'll take my where I think we want the podcast to go, and Matt will take his.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very similar to what's next for your company, which is I want you to continue and highlight and celebrate veterans that have gone into business that are doing amazing things. And we've had companies on here that we didn't know were veteran owned initially, and when we found out, we were like, fucking hell, they're doing, like, they need to be shouted from the rooftops. And also I want this podcast to be able to share what veterans and military serving personnel bring to the business arena, like what they actually do and their skill sets and what they can achieve and how they've achieved it. And for me, I like it because it taps me back into being a squaddy again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a squaddy anymore, I'm a civvy, I'm a veteran, right? But having these conversations,
you are a gopping.
I am
gopping civvy, mate.
Still wearing a wally poly though.
No way, issued socks, mate. Blast bands. I can't get rid of them. Quality.
I think to jump on, like, for my point for the question is, we just want to keep like building the following, because we're doing it, we're learning as we go. As I say, like the reason we came together as a podcast is because of our adverse circumstances that happened. As something we spoke about before, and it links to what you said, mate. We had T-shirts before we had a podcast, mate. Yeah, you know what I mean? And the logo is literally emojis. It's like, there's no real thought process into it. But for me, it's just to continue spreading people's story. There's no financial gain in this. We do it all in our own time. We're learning as we go. It's a great opportunity for me to work with Paul. We're both veterans now. We both served. We were fortunate enough to serve on ops together while we were both in. And I think just to be able to keep talking to veterans and celebrating the success and telling people stories is enough. We do it all remote. I don't want to get a studio and trying to get sponsors, invest heavily into it. I just want to get good people on.
Yeah.
And that's what, and with you coming on and some of the guests we've had, everyone's the same. Within 5 minutes of the conversation, it's like we were back in and we're back in the naffy or in the pub having a pint, even though you've never met. Do you know what I mean? And I think that kind of veteran community and just the conversation is quality.
Yeah, you're
not allowed to ask any more questions now, mate.
All right,
Otherwise, I feel like
got a bit ahead of myself then, did I?
Jesus Christ, felt under pressure, sweating, mate. Listen, thanks so much for giving up your time, Luke. It's been fascinating. We can't wait to release this episode of the podcast. There's so much to take from it. You have stood the test of time, and what's been nice, as I said, it hasn't been easy, but you're out the other side, and Contact Coffee is an incredible veteran-owned brand. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.